Full respect of the United Nations Charter requires the full recognition of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people to establish their independent state. That is recognized by the vast majority of United Nations member states. Rather than taking unprecedented steps, unprecedented provocative steps towards a region in the African continent. Once again, we reiterate the commitment, the historical commitment by Africa to the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people, including the right to self-determination, the right to establish its independent state with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. Mr. President, we reiterate the commitment of the African Union to the unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Somalia. And we reiterate our full support to the efforts by Somali authorities to consolidate peace, to strengthen state institutions. The African Union will continue to stand with determination alongside Somalia in its efforts to consolidate sovereignty, peace, and sustainable development. I thank you for your attention.
I thank Mr. Matouk for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Egypt.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to thank you for having accepted to hold this meeting at short notice at such a critical time. And I would like to reaffirm that today Egypt is taking part in this meeting because we have deep historical ties with Somalia. Indeed, Egypt was among the first states to recognize Somalia's independence in 1960. And since that time, Egypt has always supported stability in Somalia. We remember with great pride the sacrifices of our martyrs who gave their lives in defending the independence and territorial integrity of Somalia, which really is the embodiment of the bonds of brotherhood and common destiny that link together our two peoples. While the Somali state is moving forward to building its national institutions, and as the Somali state continues to fight the unjust terrorism, and as it continues to shape its future to turn a page on the past, Somalia now finds itself facing a new challenge today, namely Israel's recognition of the region termed Somaliland. This is a very serious precedent and a blatant violation of the principles of international law and the United Nations Charter, and is a direct assault on the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of Somalia. The recognition of the independence of parts of the territory of a sovereign state is not only an infringement of that country's sovereignty, it's also a direct threat to international peace and security. And it clearly contradicts the well-established principles of international law and the foundations of the African Union. The founding fathers of the Organization of African Unity were wise in scrupulously respecting the borders inherited from the colonial era, and they did this in order to avert any conflict in the region and to preserve the political and social fabric of the African continent. And this also helped to strengthen regional cooperation rather than sowing the seeds of further division. In line with the joint statement of 21 Arab, African, and Islamic states, and in accordance with the statement of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Gulf Cooperation Council, and also in line with the declaration made by the observer of the League of Arab States and the representative of the African Union, Egypt, for its part, has unequivocally refused to recognize Israel's recognition of what is called the Somaliland region. We have condemned this measure because it's a direct violation of the sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity of Somalia. This measure also is a serious risk for peace and security in the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea region, which is a natural extension of Egyptian national security. This solidarity reflects the nature and scope of the international rejection of Israel's move, and we believe that the number of states and organizations opposing this in coming days will continue to grow, because this decision risks fueling similar tendencies and practices in other regions of the world. Egypt, therefore, calls upon this esteemed council to unite in rejecting and condemning this Israeli action, which will undoubtedly have serious repercussions for peace, security, stability and safety of millions of African and Arab peoples in East Africa and the Horn of Africa, especially since this measure coincides with sincere regional and national efforts to resolve any outstanding inter-Somalian issues. Mr. President, during the current month, your Council has made commendable efforts led by the United Kingdom to reaffirm support for Somalia by renewing the sanctions regime imposed on al-Shabaab and also extending the mandate of the African Union mission in Somalia. You also supported efforts to strengthen the capacities of the Somali state, and you also backed national reconstruction and development endeavors in Somalia. Unfortunately, this unilateral Israeli move undermines this collective constructive effort and contradicts the foundations upon which the Council's approach is based. And this has been the case now for years, even decades. An approach confirming the unity of Somalia over all of its territory. Instead of focusing our efforts on encouraging the Somali government to exert further efforts aimed at consolidating the pillars of stability and move toward the path of reconciliation and greater political participation, unfortunately, regrettably, we have to focus today on the repercussions of these unilateral Israeli actions that undermine these efforts. Measures which threaten the political process that your Council has consistently called for, and destabilizing the region and risking dragging Somalia into regional confrontations, whereas Somalia is not a direct party to those confrontations. Mr. President, the security and stability of Somalia is an extension of the security and stability of Egypt, and that's why Egypt believes that any move likely to fuel unrest in Somalia will not only have repercussions within Somalia itself, but will also threaten the region, creating uncertainty and instability. This will also embolden terrorist organizations, foremost among them al-Shabaab. They will use the current situation to expand their terrorist activities, thereby posing a real threat to regional and international peace and security. In conclusion, Mr. President, I'd like to reaffirm that your Council assume the responsibility to work against this unilateral Israeli move. It's not only about preserving the credibility of the Council's handling of the Somali file for years now, it's also an issue of upholding the role of the Council in safeguarding the principles that are at the core of the UN Charter and the international rules-based order. We look forward to this Council sending out a clear and unambiguous message to reaffirm the unity and sovereignty of Somalia. There can be no manipulation whatever the message used. A message that will reject any attempt to undermine the sovereignty of Somalia. Thank you.
I thank the representative of Egypt for the statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Kuwait.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I have the honor to deliver this statement on behalf of the Arab Group. The group expresses its deep appreciation for the convening of this meeting in light of a grave development that undermines fundamental principles of international law and threatens peace and security in the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea region, with negative repercussions for international peace and security. Mr. President, the Arab Group firmly rejects and strongly condemns the declaration issued by Israel on 26 December 2025, recognizing what is referred to as the Somaliland region, which lies within the sovereign territory of the Federal Republic of Somalia. The group considers this declaration as an illegal and null and void unilateral act that carries no legal effect, as it constitutes a blatant violation of the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Somalia and a flagrant breach of international law and the Charter of the United Nations. The Arab Group stresses that the northwestern region of Somalia is an integral part of its sovereign territory. Any attempt to recognize separation, whether directly or indirectly, sets a dangerous precedent that undermines established principles of the international system, threatens regional and international peace and security, and exacerbates political tensions in Somalia, the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and the Horn of Africa. Mr. President, the Arab Group views this unlawful Israeli recognition as part of a dangerous attempt to reshape the geopolitical map of the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden region of the Somali coast. It constitutes a direct threat to regional and international peace and security, and to the freedom of navigation and international trade, which requires a clear and firm response from the international community. In this regard, the Arab Group reaffirms its full support for the security, stability, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Somalia by land, sea, and air, its legitimate institutions, and its right to defend its territory in accordance with Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. The group categorically rejects any use of Somali territory or any part thereof as a platform for hostile or intelligence activities that could undermine the security or stability of other states. The Arab Group also reiterates its categorical rejection of any form of displacement of the Palestinian people from their land and any attempts to alter the demographic composition of the occupied Palestinian territory. It firmly rejects the use of a Somali territory as a platform to implement such aggressive schemes, which constitute a great violation of international law and relevant resolutions of international legitimacy and undermine efforts to achieve a just and lasting peace. Mr. President, the Arab Group calls on the Security Council to discharge its responsibilities under Articles 34 and 39 of the Charter of the United Nations, and to take a firm position against this unlawful Israeli act. in order to safeguard the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Somalia, prevent the creation of a new conflict hotspots in the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea region, and preserve the regional and international peace and security. In conclusion, Mr. President, the Arab Group reiterates unequivocally that the sovereignty, unity, and the territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Somalia are not subject to discussion or compromise. Any infringement upon them under any pretext or guise constitutes a flagrant violation of international law and the Charter of the UN, and a direct threat to regional and international peace and security. The Arab Group categorically and legally rejects and politically rejects any attempt to impose a new fait accompli in Somalia, redraw its geographic or political map, or engage with any entity outside the framework of Somalia's legitimate state institutions. The Arab Group will continue to stand firmly and fully alongside Somalia, the Federal Republic of Somalia, supporting its security, stability, and territorial integrity by land, sea, and air, and assisting it in all legitimate measures taken under international law to defend its sovereignty. The group also calls upon the international community, foremost the Security Council, to assume its full responsibility and take the necessary clear and firm positions to prevent any action undermining of Somali sovereignty or the creation of new conflict hotspots in the Horn of Africa and the Red Sea region, in order to safeguard regional and international peace and security and uphold the principle of respect for state sovereignty and territorial integrity as a cornerstone of the international order. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Kuwait for the statement, and I give the floor to the representative of South Africa.
Thank you, Mr. President. South Africa commends you and the Republic of Slovenia for the able manner in which you have presided over the Security Council for the month of December, and for your principled approach during the entire two-year term that you have served on the Council. We thank ASG Khaled Kayari for the briefing. Mr. President, at the outset, we wish to emphasize that we are meeting in the Security Council, a body defined by rules and laws that are part of the larger framework of international law that we as member states of this organization committed ourselves to in order to ensure the orderly and legal functioning of international relations. We all signed the UN Charter and pledged ourselves voluntarily to the international legal norms that flow from our obligations. It is regrettable that we meet again to discuss the blunt violation of the spirit and the letter, not only of the UN Charter, but of international law. Unfortunately, when we condone the steady erosion of the Charter and international law, we allow some of us within this organization to believe that they are beyond the bounds of the rules and are thus not accountable for any violation of international law. We have within our midst a state that continuously violates the resolutions of this Council and the organization with impunity. A state that violates international treaties, including the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. That state, the State of Israel, which has been allowed to get away with myriad of transgression and continues to this day to violate the very laws and norms that we all hold dear, now sees it fit to undermine the territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Somalia, a fellow member state of this organization. It has done so by being the first state to recognize the illegal secession of a part of Somalia's territory. Mr. President, in 1964, the Organization of African Unity, the precursor of Africa's continental body, the African Union, adopted a resolution which considered that the borders of African states on the day of their independence constitute a tangible reality. The OAU furthermore solemnly declared that all member states pledged themselves to respect the borders existing on the achievement of national independence. This principle is further entrenched in Article 4B of the Constitutive Act of the African Union, which clearly states that the Union shall be guided by the respect of borders existing on achievement of independence. This principle of uti possidetis reaffirms that colonial borders at independence must be respected. These principles have been the legal basis of the approach by the continent to the principles of territorial integrity and self-determination, which are also enshrined in the UN Charter. It is for these reasons that South Africa firmly and unequivocally rejects any attempt at undermining the unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of Somalia. We affirm that Somaliland is an integral part of Somalia. We reiterate the statement of the chairperson of the AU Commission that any attempt to undermine Somalia's territorial integrity runs counter to the fundamental principles of the African Union and risks setting a dangerous precedent with far-reaching implications for peace and stability across the African continent. Mr. President, the actions of the State of Israel as the only state to recognize the illegal secession of a part of Somalia's territory must be condemned as a violation of the UN Charter and international law. It is ironic and cynical that Israel wishes to be the only state to recognize Somaliland, while at the same time rejecting the recognition of the state of Palestine, which the overwhelming majority of UN member states have recognized as being legal in terms of international law. It is incumbent on this Council and the entire UN member states to safeguard the norms that have come to define our peaceful interactions. The actions that negate peace, such as the actions of the State of Israel, therefore warrant condemnation. I thank you.
I thank the representative of South Africa for his statement and nice words addressed to my delegation. The representative of Sierra Leone has asked for the floor to make further statement. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank you for the opportunity to say a few words on behalf of my delegation, as this may be the final formal meeting of the year, and as Sierra Leone concludes its tenure on the Security Council. Allow me to firstly extend sincere appreciation to you, Mr. President, and the delegation of Slovenia for successful presidency and for your steady and professional manner in which you've guided the work of the Council this month. As an elected member of the Council by the General Assembly for the 2024-2025 biennium, Sierra Leone places on record its firm conviction that we've endeavored conscientiously and resolutely to discharge our responsibility in line with international law, faithful fulfillment of the UN Charter. Throughout, we have sought to build bridges through partnership, anchored in principles, guided by pragmatism, and driven by the Council's responsibility to maintain international peace and security. We've also endeavored at all times to uphold the solemn responsibilities set out in the UN Charter that the Council acts on behalf of the entire membership of the United Nations. In that spirit, we are grateful to colleagues across the membership who've described Sierra Leone's contribution as one marked by moral authority and strategic clarity, anchored in the defense of international law, justice, and our shared humanity. Let me also renew our thanks to all members of the Council, permanent and elected, for the solid cooperation during this demanding period. We extend particular appreciation to our fellow A3+ members and to the wider E10 for the solidarity and collaboration. We particularly express deep appreciation to the outgoing members, the class of 2025, Algeria, Guyana, the Republic of Korea, and Slovenia, for the partnership, solidarity, and the commitment shown in navigating a complex and contested period. We also warmly congratulate the incoming members, Bahrain, Colombia, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Latvia, and Liberia, and extend our best wishes for a successful and impactful tenure. To Somalia, the incoming president of the Council, we convey our best wishes for a smooth and successful presidency. The monthly rotation of the Council's presidency remains one of the clearest expressions of the sovereign equality of states enshrined in the UN Charter. The Council's rotational presidency is a value-based institution that must be respected and safeguarded. I also express Sierra Leone's profound gratitude to colleagues in the UN Secretariat for their professionalism and certainly steadfast support throughout our tenure. In particular, we thank the Security Council Affairs Division, SCAD, and all Secretariat colleagues, from conference officers, interpreters, translators, and the technical teams, to safety and security personnel, whose dedication ensured that the Council's work could proceed, often under intense pressure, and whose quiet excellence underpin every meeting. I also wish to place on record a special acknowledgement of the dedication and commitment and work of the diplomats of the Permanent Mission of Sierra Leone, whose professionalism and sacrifice over the past 2 years contributed meaningfully to the Council's work in service of peace. Mr. President, on the important topic of consideration in this meeting, Sierra Leone reiterates once more the clear position expressed by the A3+ in the statement delivered by the Permanent Representative of Somalia, affirming unequivocally the sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Somalia. These are not optional ideals. They are foundational obligations under the UN Charter and the bedrock of Africa's stability and international peace and security. Yet this matter again demonstrates a deeply troubling reality. Fundamental principles of the Charter are being disregarded, and the Council risks being drawn into a period marked by blatant disrespect for international law and an environment that can be perceived as enabling impunity. Sierra Leone underscores our firm belief with clarity that this seeming era of impunity is a blight on our collective security system, and it will not endure. Accountability, legal, political, and moral, will ultimately put an end to any illusion of impunity, as the alternative cannot be a reset, but an erosion of the very framework built to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, or from hell, as aptly said by former UN Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld. Finally, Sierra Leone leaves this Council with a deepened conviction that a reform of the Security Council is not merely desirable, but imperative. The historical injustice against Africa must be redressed fully and without further delay if this Council is to retain legitimacy, credibility, and effectiveness. Until that reform is realized, Sierra Leone encourages all members to uphold the heightened responsibility entrusted to this Council, to act with restraint, fidelity to the Charter, and an unwavering commitment to international law, so that 2026 and beyond may be more stable and peaceful. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Sierra Leone for the statement. The representative of Guyana has asked for the floor to make a further statement. I give her the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Guyana's position on today's agenda item has been fully expressed in the A3+ statement delivered earlier by Somalia. However, I wanted to add these few words. As this seems likely to be our final meeting for the month and year, and it's certainly never certain, and Guyana's last meeting as a member of the United Nations Security Council, I take this opportunity to commend you, Mr. President, and the delegation of Slovenia for a successful presidency for the month of December and wish Somalia the very best for their presidency in January. Guyana was honored to serve as an elected member of the Security Council for the past 2 years. During our tenure, we were steadfast in our commitment to contribute to the maintenance of international peace and security and placed respect for the UN Charter and international law at the center of our efforts. We leave this Council even more resolute in this commitment and thankful for the opportunity to have made a modest contribution. I extend Guyana's heartfelt appreciation to all Council members for their support and partnership during our tenure. I also thank SCAD and the UN staff for the kind support provided. To our A3 brothers and sisters, joining the A3+ mechanism was one of the best decisions Guyana made at the start of its tenure. We are deeply appreciative of the partnership, friendship, and cooperation we enjoyed with Algeria, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Somalia, and the African Union Permanent Observer Mission. Special appreciation also to our fellows in the class of 2025 who will move on like us at the end of this month. We extend best wishes to the incoming members of the Council, Bahrain, Colombia, DRC, Latvia, and Liberia. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Guyana for the statement. The representative of Algeria has asked for the floor to make further statement. I give him the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, President. I would like to mention 2 points. First of all, I would like to fully align myself with what seemed to me like an improvisation on your part. A majestic improvisation, particularly relevant. I'm referring to what you said about the difference in substance, in nature, between the situation in Palestine and the situation in Somaliland, which, the way we see it, is an integral part of Somalia. Second, and very briefly, we would like to express to you my admiration for you, Ambassador Samuel Bogat, and also admiration for your team and your country. We admire your commitment and the rigor which you exhibited throughout your term on the Security Council. I can attest to the fact that you served as the catalyst for limiting elected members of the Council, and you managed to bring us together behind the objective of a fairer world, a world of peace, a world of security. Now, it would be remiss of me to end without paying tribute to my A3+ colleagues. In particular, I'd like to pay tribute to the colleagues coming from a non-African country, colleagues which nonetheless held on throughout the mandate and committed themselves to staunchly defending African causes here on this council. I am referring, of course, to our colleague from Guyana, Ambassador Carolyn Brisket. At a time when Algeria is preparing to leave the Council with a feeling of having accomplished its duty, I would like to tell my colleagues, elected members of this Council, but my message also goes out to those who will be coming onto the Council. My message is this: persevere. Persevere and always attempt to work together with all Council members, permanent members and elected members alike. And all this in the pursuit of our common objective. It might be a weakness, but I do believe it. Our objective being the preservation of international peace and security. And I would also like to add that this is something that's particularly pertinent for elected members. I would like to add justice. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Algeria for the statement, as well as the very kind words addressed to my delegation. The saying goes, thanks go to delegation of Guyana and Sierra Leone, the team of 2025, the class of 2025. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. Before adjourning the meeting, as this seems to be the last scheduled meeting of the Council for the month of December, I would like to express the sincere appreciation of the delegation of Slovenia to the members of the Council and to the Secretariat of the Council for all the support they have given us. And if you allow me, I would also like to thank everyone as representative of Slovenia and send special thanks to our fantastic team, both the Permanent Mission of Slovenia to the UN, as well as at the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs back in Ljubljana. Indeed, it has been a busy month and one in which we rallied to consensus on several important issues within our purview. We could not have done it alone and without the hard work, support and positive contribution of every delegation and the representatives of the Secretariat, including the technical support team, conference services, officers, interpreters, translators, verbatim reporters and security staff. As we end our presidency, I now speak on behalf of the Council in wishing the delegation of Somalia good luck in the month of January. Yes. On behalf of the Council, I would also like to express the sincere appreciation of the Council to the 5 outgoing members, namely Algeria, Guyana, Republic of Korea, Sierra Leone, and Slovenia. As President of the Council, I want to thank them for their contributions during their term on the Security Council. I want to thank the Council colleagues for cooperation and camaraderie that you extended to our group, the class of 2025, one of a kind. We were privileged and honored to serve on the Council. We did our best to live up to the expectations of the general membership of the organization whom we represent on this Council. And with this, the meeting is adjourned.